Production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com.
From these contributing sponsors and viewers like you, thank you.
This time on Broad and High, it's wall-to-wall coverage of Short North Murals. Chris Steele, former president of Citizens for a Better Skyline, tells stories about the history of mural painting in the neighborhood.
The Union Station Arcade was to focus the attention on what we'd lost and why we don't want to lose any more.
And we're excited to share two stories from our Emmy Award-winning program, DAR, about two iconic Short North mural projects. This and more right now on Broad and High. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Kate Quickle. What comes to mind when you think of the Short North? Restaurants, nightlife, galleries? Well, all of that is true, but the many murals in the Short North are also a distinguishing feature. This week, we're looking back at the history of mural painting here. I've invited Chris Steele, former president of Citizens for a Better Skyline, to share stories about how mural painting became a neighborhood passion. Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Nice to be here.
This is great. So, I think we all know the Short North has changed a lot over the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what the neighborhood was like in the 1980s?
Well, it was certainly a neighborhood of transition and empty storefronts, not much activity on the street. Rigsby first came in, and that was a big move. There were early galleries. The Apple Gallery was great. There was another gallery in the functional furnishing buildings that had live performances. And that was the seed that brought in what we see today. The artists are like pioneers, you know, and even in New York and Soho is similar.
Right, and the neighborhood kind of evolves around that.
And then the artists get driven out.
It's sort of a sad story how that continues to happen. One of the things I think of when I think of the Short North is gallery hop. I mean, that's something you look forward to at the beginning of every month. What's sort of the backstory of that?
The gallery that was in the functional furnishing building, she came up with that, along with some other people trying to promote the arts. And that certainly took off. And I would say it was a huge impact on the neighborhood and the concept that we were an art district.
So Chris, tell me about your organization, Citizens for a Better Skyline. How did that come to be and what was its purpose?
Our goal was to focus on saving historic buildings, stopping the demolition, because at the time downtown was over a half empty on-grade parking lots.
Wow.
And of course you don't have synergy when there's nothing to do. Columbus closed up at 5. There was nobody on the streets.
Yeah.
So we were trying to save buildings, show how better architecture could be designed and influence developers to be more conscientious of the pedestrian.
Mm-hmm. Did this kind of come out of nowhere, or did you have sort of a background in this, in art?
Definitely, I'm an artist. I did performance art, and there was a big portion of our whole operation was performance art. Mm-hmm. And we tried to come up with very funny ideas that would attract attention. We also worked in tandem with the Columbus Landmarks. They were kind of the conservative group, and we were the crazy group.
Yes,
and
the
we
creatives.
played off of each other for years.
That must have been a good time. A lot of ideas.
We wanted to do more than just complain, so we hired architects to come up with alternatives to demolition. We had a huge impact on the Creek Church that stands there today, a huge impact on the Worley building in the Brewery District, and we paid architects with the money we raised through heritage balls, selling t-shirts. This was trying to save Melman's t-shirt.
Oh,
we wanted to be more than complainers. We were always trying to come up with clever ideas.
I love that.
We had a hat contest at one of our balls, and everybody made fancy architecturally inspired hats, and we we're always passing out things like here's pencils. Columbus,
nice.
we're tearing it down. That was a contrast to Columbus, we're making it great. And then for Melman's, we said, we need history. And we passed these out to stop the Greek church from demolishing 16 buildings. We had a ball, and we called it the Eve of Destruction at the Melman's Tavern.
Oh, I love that.
And
did you guys dress up for the balls? Like, was it fancy or was it funky?
oh, it was pretty fancy, actually. You can see we dressed as buildings to attract attention
Oh, that's
to
great.
the demolishing plans of
So much passion
building.
everyone had.
Oh, we had 1,000 members.
So it sounds like that's sort of the origin of the murals. Was that kind of a way to save these
Absolutely.
buildings? Can you tell me about how
Well,
those
the
started?
murals were more also to attract people, and it added to the idea this is an arts neighborhood. We were inspired by Carl Soloway in Cincinnati. He had a huge mural project before us, and then of course New York, they were all over. So I thought this was the perfect answer, do something positive. Our first 2 train murals, the Union Station Arcade, was to focus the attention on what we'd lost and why we don't want to lose any more. The train concept, which is the arcade, I collect penny scales, and I had images of scales.
Oh, that were really there.
Yeah, so this was operated by Chas B. Trickey. It was outdoors probably 50 years or more.
Wow.
Here, we look for a building. Here's the building.
So you're kind of looking for a canvas
Yes,
existing on a
exactly.
building.
So there's the before and after. So we were looking for real colorful trains. And one of the funniest parts is Prince Charles is in one of the windows.
Oh, you're kidding.
Of this one, of the big yellow train. And we gave him an award. We handed out awards also. So we were focusing on positive.
Wow, Chris, this is so cool. I love hearing about the history. Well, you're in for a treat. We went into our WOSU archives and pulled a video from DAR, our Emmy Award-winning art series, which ran from 1988 to 1993. Here's a story from 1989 about the creation of the Short North Train Mural.
I think as an artist, transportation is a very important aspect of human beings. I always thought trains were aesthetically pleasing as far as the shrouding that they put on the old locomotives. Bullet-shaped, streamlined, was very deco-oriented. I think trains have a certain romance to them, and they always seem to be kind of a safe way of traveling. So, I mean, you're still on the ground, and you're in something really big and heavy.
Akers has been painting billboards and murals since 1980. One of his most prominent works, a mural of the old Union Station, can be seen on High Street in the Short North District.
I wanted to do something to accentuate the presence of the Union Station, so I decided to put locomotives across the parking lot. I thought that would really be a very nice complementary visual to the Union Station.
Citizens for a Better Skyline Committee, a nonprofit community organization, raised the funds for these murals. Chris Steele, president of the committee, believes that a variety of art can bring life to the streets of Columbus.
General rule of thumb, if you have a blank wall, you don't have life. And we're trying to bring life to a pedestrian level. That whole area is perfect now to become an environment. Like we could get antique lights in there instead of the new lights, similar to the lights that you see in the Union Station mural. We'd like to see a recording calling off now departing track 9. Some of the most fond memories I have of train stations is hearing the calls of the trains that are about to depart. We'd like to get into that kind of environmental art where you have sounds. So I think there's more that can be done in that area. It's going to cost more money. We have about 3 years of fundraising and hard work to get to where we are there, and I think with a couple more years we could have a wonderful environment of what was a drab parking lot.
Finding the wall and the visual to accentuate it is the first step in painting a mural. The train mural was designed to accommodate the 30 to 12-foot height variation and other obstructions.
The interesting thing about this wall, the train wall, was there was obstacles on the wall, conduit and boxes and meters, and I believe in trompe-l'oeil. And trompe-l'oeil in French means fooling your eye. And I think people really can respect somebody about their ability to make something disappear with paint. And that's what really eggs me on these different types of surfaces. I feel like I'm a catalyst in a sense that I'll do these things and I'll get the reaction, and I hope it'll bring more people out and downtown and really show that Columbus is a happening town. I couldn't do murals without the people, for one thing. People are very important because, you know, if no one ever looked at my work, I wouldn't be doing it. Oh, get a lot of walk-bys and drive-bys and people screaming out of their cars and people honking and firemen on their way to a fire yelling, all right, you know, and it's, it really makes me feel good to be able to affect so many people. And what's so great about it, I feel like I'm at the fair when I'm up on a ladder or in that parking lot, because I meet thousands of people during this process.
That's really nice. Nice art. How long did it take you to do all that?
Started in the beginning of June. Yeah. June 7th.
Really short.
Thanks. I hope to be finished with it this week, so stop back and bring your camera.
So there were other murals to come in the Short North. Can you tell me about others that were your favorite or you were involved with?
Without a doubt, Mona Lisa is our favorite.
Yeah.
It attracted national attention, and we went through a number of ideas to get there. It took us
Okay.
about a year.
Wow.
Because it was a theater, here's one concept.
So the Mona Lisa was not the initial idea for this.
Well, it was, but they
You had to sell them on
met
it?
resistance.
Okay.
And this is one of my favorites.
I love
So
that.
it was a circus town, so that's why the dogs.
Oh, that's fun.
And
Such different ideas. So you
Yeah.
got them to kind of circle back to your original idea.
yeah, we used this to show what a beautiful change it could be.
It's a dramatic change.
And the very first painting by Brian Clemens, he actually put in all the cracks that were in the real painting in the Louvre.
That's incredible.
And really got the color beautifully.
It looks spot on, and I think the thing people think of about the Mona Lisa is the eyes, and I feel like he captured that. They kind of seem to follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's spooky the way that painting works. Mona's laying on her side because that's the way she fit best. We did try from here up so she could be looking at you, but there's a long tradition of Mona Lisa being played with by artists. And so we felt it was actually perfect to do something different. And to continue in our tradition of goofy things, we handed out 1,000 of these little Mona Lisa pins, and you'd wear them sideways.
Of course, you gotta wear them sideways. That's so clever. And it's still there, and people
Yeah.
can still see it.
Yeah, it's a repaint. We had problems with moisture traveling through the block, but then once we sealed inside, the second painting has stayed.
Amazing. In 1990, Columbus celebrated the unveiling of the popular Mona Lisa mural. WOSU followed that excitement and created this story. Enjoy.
Do you want some? Yum, lovely.
Why are these people celebrating? Why is this woman smiling? Because they attended the dedication ceremony for the city's newest mural.
I'm ecstatic. I think it's like Da Vinci came back. Took us about a year to get it okayed through Italian Village. Sandy Wood, who we're dedicating the mural to, has probably been at the forefront of bringing this area back to life.
I'm here to celebrate the Mona Lisa.
What do you think of it?
I think it's gorgeous. I think she's gorgeous. I think it looks great. Took the whole neighborhood a long time to decide to put it on. And we struggled with whether she should be standing up or looking down or, you know, all those issues. But I'm delighted with the way it turned out.
Sandy, come on up here. Sandy. We're dedicating this mural to Sandy Wood for all he's done for our neighborhood. He's probably our greatest supporter.
I think it's wonderful. It's the first time you see pictures like that painted on walls.
I do like it. It looks good to me. I wouldn't want too much of this sort of thing all over the city, but I think here and there it's nice.
I came several different times and watched all the different stages and process, and it was really exciting. I love to come down the alley and just kind of, it's there, just perfect.
Located on the back wall of the Reality Theater at 736 North Pearl Street is the third mural commissioned by the Citizens for a Better Skyline. The project was funded by the Ohio Arts Council, the Greater Columbus Arts Council, and private donations. Artist Brian Clemens worked 2 months to complete the mural.
It was a very interesting project and very challenging. This mural was a little more difficult than things I had done on a smaller scale. You had to move the scaffolding when you got to another place. You could only reach so far, and that added a lot of frustration to it. I used enamel paint on the mural. It lasts a long time outside, and it's good color-wise and mix as well.
The most famous thing about Mona is wherever you stand, she's looking at you, and somehow he's managed to get that same aspect of the painting to come alive in big scale.
The eyes actually were probably the easier part of the painting to do because you were working in a smaller area. You could actually reach what you were trying to render. And people in the neighborhood seemed to like the mural quite a bit. I think they had fun watching it being done. Maybe they'd just like somebody to be out there always painting and changing that thing.
They're a lot of fun, and I hope that the Citizens for Better Skyline can put them in a lot of places. The quality of the work that they're commissioning is really excellent, I think. And I hope we can have a lot more of them.
We'd like to see maybe the American Gothic by Grant Wood, or even Michelangelo's David, or Warhol's Marilyn, or a Hopper like Nighthawks. Those are some that we're really looking for a building where those would fit and the context would permit it.
Leonardo, and to Mona. And to Columbus. Cheers.
So Chris, what do you see as the legacy for Citizens for a Better Skyline?
Well, I think we made great impact in the way buildings are built and stay up close to the street. We made sure that it was more important to save buildings, and that became our fight, really. And well, I'm so happy that they're still doing murals today.
Right.
We ran about 30 years and then called it a day.
That's impressive. I mean, the work you did and the spirit and the passion, I think it's made an indelible mark on a beautiful neighborhood.
Yeah, I'm just hoping the younger groups that are coming behind us will start speaking up.
Well, thanks so much for talking with me today.
Thank you.
The legacy of murals in the Short North neighborhood continues. Here's a story about the 11-story Journey mural, one of the tallest murals in our city. It features a local Somali woman, hummingbirds, and figures from Greek mythology.
Vertically, this is the tallest wall I've ever done.
Well, we're in the Short North Arts District, and we are standing right next to the new Graduate Hotel, which is also the site of an incredible new public art project that is called Journey. The project features 3 murals, 1 at ground level and then 2 on the upper stories of the hotel. In total, it's about 11,000 square feet of mural space. So the artists for this project are Ryan Sarfati and Eric Scottness. They're both Los Angeles-based artists who have deep roots and background in the street art and graffiti art community in Los Angeles, and they've been doing mural projects all over the world, most recently painting bomb shelters in Israel.
Myself and my assistant Shane Jessup are on this side, and then Eric and his assistant Angie are on the other side.
So the story of the Journey mural is about Columbus as a city of prosperity. You see a hummingbird character that's found throughout all 3 pieces. And that hummingbird really is connecting mythological characters and humans. It is exploring new Americans and the new American journey to Columbus as a prosperous city, and actually features Hoden Mohammed, who is the founder of the Columbus Somali Festival, as well as the founder of an amazing local organization called Our Helpers, which gives new Somali Americans coming to Columbus orientation services and basic services so that they can get established.
Our mission is to help immigrants overcome social and economical obstacles. It is a welcoming city, and working with the immigrant community for the last 6 years, the only thing is building bridges. That's what we are missing, and that's part of the job that I'm doing right now.
Somalis started immigrating to Columbus, I would say probably in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it's estimated to be around 60,000, so it's definitely a big community here.
I think non-immigrant community, they will see this as a place to go back, and like if they ever have a question about immigrant person, or if they have a covering or a question about covering your head or anything, they say, let me Google that lady and ask. For immigrant community, I think we will feel like, oh, you know, we're welcome to this city. So we'll feel like it's our city, though it's already our city.
So I think that she depicts what, you know, a Somali mother or an immigrant mother goes through in this country, of just, you know, trial, tribulations, triumph, but also being able to kind of give back to others that may be less fortunate than you are. So I think she's the perfect person to be on that mural here today.
I think right now we need a lot more inclusion and less exclusion, and I think this is a perfect way to communicate that.
We have many, many talented artists here in Columbus, and when we let our call for artists, about 32% of the applicants were local. But the level of experience needed in order to execute a project like this is pretty significant, and we're very fortunate that Ryan and Eric have that. So as part of this special program, they will be leading an artist in residency project. They'll be educating 20 artists here locally on the skills and techniques that are necessary to create work this scale, and give them an opportunity to create work themselves.
I came into this already a muralist, not on the degree they are, like I'm not doing the scale stuff they're doing. You know what you know, and you know what you need to learn, but then there's a subcategory of things you don't know that you need to learn.
The artists that we've been working with have really taught me a lot about new software and basically how to do my work bigger. So I've done things 20 feet tall, but no bigger than that. So they have a lot of tips that they were generous enough to share with us.
I think art is supposed to invoke discussion, and I think that's exactly what we're doing here.
Thanks for being with us for this edition of Broad and High. You can find all of our stories online at WOSU.org, as well as on our free WOSU mobile app. Be sure to give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you next week for more great stories of Columbus arts and artists.
She's got a ring on her finger from a carpenter. Man, he's got sawdust pockets and a t-shirt tan, and they've got nowhere to go. That man in the Stetson hat, he's come to grips with the ugly fact that he's got nowhere to go. He's gonna make it, but he don't know when, fighting the same fight again and again, and he's got nowhere to go.
Production of Broad and High is funded in part by the Greater Columbus Arts Council, supporting arts, advancing culture, and connecting the community to artists, events, and classes at columbusmakesart.com.
From these contributing sponsors and viewers like you, thank you.